Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Brothers channel, and this is the Nike KD13. Alright, so I finally got my hands on the KD13 and it's going for 160 bucks, or this colorway actually is going for 160. The regular colorways, like the black and white one, is going for 150 bucks. This is the only colorway available as of right now on Nike.com in the US. So if you guys do want to cop, I'll leave a link in the description box. Because when I saw these, every single size was available for this colorway. So as far as the traction goes on the KD13, well, in this colorway, it's a solid rubber outsole. On the KD12, for some reason, most of the colorways had translucent outsoles, which I had a pretty big problem with, especially when it came to dust. But in this colorway, you have this little pod here in the forefoot, which says Air Zoom in the middle, and then you have a plastic midfoot shank. As far as the pattern goes, it reminds me a lot of the PG3 right here with a lot of circles, but it's not as close together. So the KD13, the circles are more spaced apart. You have some holes that are actually cut into the outsole, which exposes the midsole, which is kind of weird. I don't know why they would do that. Maybe to save weight, but I don't think it'll save that much weight, right? But as you guys know, the midsole and the outsole take up a lot of the weight of a basketball shoe, or just most shoes in general, so I guess that is a good idea. So we have some circle patterns, and then we have some ovals here, I guess more in the forefoot and around the edges of the heel. And let me tell you guys, even though it's just my wood floors, this shoe is biting like insane. Maybe it has something to do with the circle pattern. Maybe the circle pattern is just really nice, or maybe it's the rubber compound. I'm not 100% sure because the PG3 was also really nice. So it seemed to be biting really well on my wood floors. Dust pickup, I mean, it is picking up a lot of dust, but we'll have to see when I actually play in them. And as far as the durability goes, the circle rubber seems pretty damn hard, and it seems to be around the same hardness as the PG3s, but we have no circles or anything around the actual pod or this oval pattern in the forefoot. And that's where I saw a lot of ripping and tearing from the circle pattern in the PG3s, so that's good. And as you guys can see, around the perimeter of the outsole, there's no circle exposed. It's just flattened out so that you have a little bit more durability and the circle pattern is not going to rip off, so that's really good. Because around the perimeter, especially here in the heel, is where the high wear area is, especially when you're just walking around. Like some people when they walk, they kind of drag their heel or kind of like their forefoot, the toe. So yeah, I mean, the traction seems really good, and I'm super excited about that. Also, another plus, it's not a significant outsole curvature, but it does curve up, so it has a little bit of this curve here, so that when you do this type of movement, you get a little bit more grip. Obviously not as much as Kyrie's, and the outsole definitely doesn't come up as much, but then that's just a nice little bonus. I like to have this like curved shape here where the ball of my foot is, as compared to like the PG3 where it's a little bit more flat, As far as the heel to toe transition goes, it seems pretty damn smooth. There is a good amount of flex here in the forefoot. Like, look at that, as you guys can see. And this full length zoom strobel allows it to bend a lot easier than if it was just like a full length zoom unit, because there is some articulation in the zoom strobel. And then as far as the shape of the outsole goes, it's very curved. Like here in the heel, you have a nice curved shape. In the forefoot, look at how much it curves up. So you get this really nice rocking motion, and the heel to toe transition feels smooth. The only thing I don't like about it is that, the rubber outsole comes up a lot, and even this white part is rubber. This entire heel part is all outsole. So it gives a little bit of clunk, like for example in the PG3s there is midsole compression, so it doesn't feel as clunky in the heel, but it's not bad. Everything else, like the flex in the forefoot and the overall shape help it a lot. So it's not a huge deal, I would say. It just feels a little boot-like in the heel, is all. Alright, as far as the cushioning goes, a lot of you guys, including me, were very curious as to what the KD13 was using. But they're basically using the same thing as the KD12, which a lot of people liked, including me. So they're using a full-length zoom strobel unit, and it feels incredible. You can feel the zoom unit right underneath your foot. And they're using a little bit of a different setup than the KD12. In the KD12, we had a bottom-loaded hex zoom unit in the heel, but in the KD13, they have a zoom unit in the forefoot, and it's bottom-loaded. It's underneath the zoom strobel. And I can't really feel any type of significant bounce or anything in the forefoot as of right now. Hopefully that changes when I start to play, but I kind of doubt it. But you know, the zoom strobo, the full length zoom strobo is still super nice. The core feel seems pretty good. Not the best I've ever felt, but it's definitely not horrible comparing it to like LeBron's. And obviously there's a good amount of bounce. Impact protection seems like it's going to be good and all that. So I really like the cushioning setup right now. It's just that the forefoot doesn't seem like anything crazy, even comparing it to the KD12. And as far as the insole goes, in this colorway it's like a very, very bright pink, and it says Kevin Durant number 7 air zoom, double stack air zoom system, full length air zoom, and then forefoot air zoom. So it just tells you the cushioning setup. And then the actual insole is like really, really crappy. So this insole material, I'm not sure what it's made out of, but it feels like styrofoam and it feels like plastic. It doesn't feel like a foam at all. There's no type of compression, and it's pretty stiff. And then moving on to the upper, so the upper in the KD13 looks a lot nicer than it feels. So here in the forefoot, or basically throughout the entire upper, they're using a textile material with this grid pattern on it, and you can definitely see the grid pattern even though there is a graphic on the upper. And you have this like butterfly and chain with pink and peach colors on it. Not a huge fan of the graphic at all. So this material, this overall material feels really thin, which I like. It conforms to your foot somewhat well, but it just feels so flimsy, and it literally feels like a PG3. Like, you guys hear that? Compared to the K, like, it's just so flimsy and cheap feeling that like, this is 160 bucks. Or I guess 150 for the GR. And it's just this colorway. Hopefully the other like general release colorways feel a little bit better, but like in this colorway specifically, this material that they're using feels really, really cheap. And then around the perimeter of the upper, you have another like textile material. It feels kind of like a really, really cheap suede, which I also don't like. And then you have a little bit of fuse surrounding the toe cap area for a little bit more durability if you do toe drags. And then you have some stitching. So I guess this is where they decided to put the upper stitching, which is kind of weird. This is where they join the material, so it becomes one piece for the shoe. Usually companies put it here on the medial side, and I guess in the heel, but in the KD13 they decided to do it in the toe. And as far as the swoosh goes, it's made out of this really cheap synthetic. I don't like it. It's stitched onto the upper, and they're basically using the same material on the medial and lateral side. Both of the swooshes on the lateral and medial side also go into the midsole, and there is an outline of the swoosh that goes into the midsole. And then these wing pieces is another thing that feels really, really crappy, and it's independent, so it's not stitched into the upper here where the eyelets are. And as far as the tongue goes, you have a mesh material which also feels really cheap, and then you have this foam exposed. I mean, there is a good amount of padding, which feels nice. I love a well padded tongue. But then the materials that they're using like aren't nice at all, and I'm pretty disappointed in the material quality. The tongue is not an independent tongue. It's connected to a half booty upper, which goes underneath this really cheap feeling textile. But it's not an independent tongue, which is nice. It means it's not gonna, you know, like move around while you're playing. It just stays in place, and it gives you a better overall one-to-one fit. In the ankle area, you have quite a bit of foam, which feels nice. I wouldn't say it's as much as the Kyrie 6. The Kyrie 6 there's a lot of foam. So for me, I feel like it's just the right amount, and that feels very nice in the Achilles. There's no Achilles pillows or anything, which kind of sucks, but I didn't seem to have any type of heel slippage or anything. And then they're using some flat laces with some like gold strands going through it. On the tongue, it says Kevin Durant. There's number 7 here on the tongue, as well as on this plastic piece here in the foam in the forefoot, which helps to cage the foam, I guess, but the foam is really stiff, so I don't really think that was needed. And then the only KD logo on this shoe is here in the heel. Moving on to the fit, I went true to size, and it fits really, really similarly to the KD12, so very, very narrow and super duper tight in the toe area. So for me, it's a perfect fit. I love it. I like to have a really snug fit in my ball shoes. But if you don't like to have a snug fit, or if you have a wide foot, you should probably go up half a size, or maybe even a full size. I mean, this shoe is really, really snug. I believe this textile material is probably going to stretch out once you get to playing in the shoe and stuff, but still just watch out. Alright, as far as the weight goes, I don't know, I'm very curious. It feels average, I would say. You know, there is a lot of rubber, and there is a lot of midsole that comes up, especially in the heel. So I'm guessing like, what, 13 ounces? 11.99, so basically 12 ounces. Let's check the right pair. So 11.99 ounces, the exact same weight. That's interesting. So yeah, 12 ounces. That's actually a little bit lighter than average, and I'm pretty surprised. I don't know how they kept it so light. It's probably the upper. The upper is super light, and I feel like they could have shed off a little bit more weight, maybe an ounce or half an ounce, if they kind of like remove this rubber here in the heel. But you know, 12 ounces is still pretty light, and I like it. You know, it feels pretty minimal, but it feels a little chunky, a little bulky here in the heel, like underneath your heel. But other than that, it feels pretty damn nice as of right now. Moving on to the aesthetics, I actually really like it. You know, getting it in hand, I really like the enlarged swoosh and it dipping into the midsole, and I really like how it kind of passes off as a casual shoe as well. I mean, like wearing like the PG3 or like the Kyrie 6 casual, it looks kind of weird because it looks like a ball shoe. But then the KD13, it looks more on that aesthetic, like streetwear, more like outdoor, you know, I'm going out aesthetic, which I really like. So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics. Not a huge fan of this graphic though, but other than that, I like the overall silhouette. So yeah, for 160 bucks, I feel like as of right now, it's feeling really, really nice and I like it. So if you guys can't wait for the performance review, as of my first impressions, it's feeling super nice. Again, if you guys want to cop, I'll try to leave a link in the description box. But that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.